Hey everybody, I wanted to go through a situation I had on my quad recently that was pretty curious and somewhat not straightforward to address with just, well, it was with one setting, but there was essentially when I would do a forward flip, it would sometimes fall out of the sky. So some terms people use is, the roll of death, falling out of the sky. Some people will call it a quote desync, which is a pretty innocuous term that doesn't necessarily have a definition. It's kind of a wastebasket diagnosis, if I've ever seen one, that we call anything weird a desync. So my situation was luckily reproducible. Obviously it sucked if you were just flying around FPV and you were high up, did a roll, and then it would just tumble out of the sky, whatever, 50, 100 feet down to its down to the ground, and hopefully not break anything, or if it did, deal with it. With mine, I could do a forward flip at low altitude, and if I did enough of them, 2, 3, 4 in a row, just line of sight, it would go into the spin of death. So what I did is I popped in a black box recording of it, and that's what we're looking at here. Here at the top trace is the gyro, so that senses motion of the quad, and the bottom is the motors. So you can see these color graphics here for each motor, and this is the lines on them. So if I go here, you can see this is my stick commands. Doing a punch out, and everything seems to be okay. And then I'm doing a forward roll, initiating the roll. The back motors spin up. It starts to enter the roll. This graphic kind of flips around weird, but the quad's just doing a forward roll. And then as I bring the stick back down, back to center here, you can see the front motors spin up, which was right here, and it was kind of off level there. I had to correct myself, and it catches itself, and we're good to go. So that's that one. There's a couple other ones here where I did it and it was fine. So go back, you can kind of see what it looks like here again. Punched up, forward roll, come out of the move, goes forward, 2 motors spin up, and it catches itself. That was probably a cleaner one to look at. And there's some, back and forth and some oscillations there. That's the quad's leveling itself, but you can see this one. If I just reduce this down to 50% speed and run that, you can see it just quickly catches itself and goes from there. So, so let's get onto the issue. You can see I did a number of forward flips. Everything's fine, and here's the situation, because I didn't know what was going on. Well, why is it doing this? Why is it falling out of the sky? Well, here, in the last trace, obviously the black box log ends when I disarm, because it falls out of the sky. I do a punch out. It does the back 2 motors, does a little correction in the front 2 for the overshoot. Then as I come out of the move, bring my stick down to 0 here, you can see that front left motor. These are the commands from the flight controller to the motors. So if it's commanding the front left motor to spin up, but since it's not happening, it continues to command it, and it continues to command it, and continues to command it, and that motor just never starts up. And the quad, because we have 3 motors now running, and the 4th one's not spinning up, it just falls to the ground. Right here, you can see the motor does start to spin up, but that's after it hits the ground. You can see the gyro here. That's where it actually hits the ground, bounces, and that motor spins up. And this all happens within a matter of fractions of seconds. You can see the timer up here if you want to go back. So what's the fix? Well, oddly enough, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I found a video, you can see it in the upper right for the card, on how to fix this, for at least my situation, was to lower the start force in BL Heli. So let's go look at that. I have my quad plugged in, BL Heli connected. I'm going to go ahead and plug in a LiPo here real quick. And hit read setup. And right here, the start force by default is set to 0.5. So what I did to initially see if this was the issue or not, I changed that all the way down to 0.031. Seems like for me, I can go all the way up to point. So what happens when I arm the quad? The motors like twitch a little bit, and then they start to spin. Seems like I can get up to 0.125 before it will start to happen again. So let me show you a trace after I made this adjustment. Just unplug this here. Go back and open up another trace. And this is with my start force at 0.125. Okay, so here, let's look at a couple things. So let's just do, a quick one here. Here's a punch out, or bring it up to level, a little punch out, and then a forward roll, the adjustment, the front motor spin up for overcorrect, and then the back one spin up and catch it. Now you can see with that lower start force, it commands it for a little bit before it actually kicks in. I've done a lot of tests, although that's the case here. And now you got to look at this timing. That's 0.43 of a second in the timing, and that goes to so here, 0.45. So 0.02 seconds, which you can't tell that at all, but Black Box sees it. And everything works fine now. So that was the fix. I can continue to do a bunch of rolls. I'm just doing forward flips and forward flips and forward flips. Here, this one's a little longer, but the longest gap this is up top here now is 0.05. So it's not half a second. It's microsecond. I don't know. 0.05 seconds is the longest, and I've done a lot of testing. I've probably done 50, 60 forward rolls with this now, and it works fine. It always catches it. The motor spins up. You can't even tell. So I don't know if it's the ESC. The ESCs are brand new. They are Racer Star ESCs, so not the best in the bin, but they're brand new. The motors are old motors from my Racer 250, so they're semi-beat, but I don't want to get new ones. I'm kind of cheap, and this was the fix to it. So I hope this helps everybody, and just a little bit more in depth on the videos I've seen on this situation. And if you're having any problems with this, try lowering your start force. It's counterintuitive to me, but whatever, it works. Thanks.